Ladies and gentlemen, open your eyes, lend us your ears. The NBA Finals matchup is finally set. It's the underdog Celtics and the Warriors. Game 1 arriving Thursday night in the Bay Area, where Golden State has not lost this postseason, by the way. Hope you had a safe Memorial Day weekend. It is great to have you here on The Sweat, presented by DraftKings. I am Emerson Latia. So we have a star-studded series opener between the Avs and the Oilers to break down coming up. Which golfers to chase at Jack's tournament, plus top DFS plays on the diamond. Steve Buchanan is going to be live here in studio with me on DOS Desk. But first things first, DK's, I hear you right over there, bud. DK Nation's Chinmay, Vaidya, RotoWire's Nick Whalen. They're here for a little preview of the NBA Finals. Let's just get right after it here, Nick. Which side are you backing right now for a series winner? So Golden State, the favorite on the DK Sportsbook, minus 150, or you got Boston there, plus 130.
Man, well, it seems like these numbers are about right? I mean, I think Golden State probably deserves to be a slight favorite. You know, maybe they've had an easier path to the NBA Finals, but they've made it look a little bit easier, I think, than the Boston Celtics have all the way here. So Golden State has home court advantage. I get why they're favored. But I could really be convinced either way. I think this is as close of a series coming into the finals as we've had really in recent memory. You know, for most of the previous decade, there was always a super team on one side or the other. You know, when Kevin Durant was on the Warriors, that kind of felt automatic. When LeBron and Bosh and Wade were running with the Heat, that one kind of felt like they were always the favorites. And even if you want to go back to last year, when we had Suns Bucks in the finals, like Giannis Antetokounmpo was hurt, was very questionable to begin that series. So it kind of felt like Phoenix was the team you wanted to back. But really, after seeing Boston, you know, obviously they almost blew that Game 7, but in some ways you have to tip your cap to the amount of resilience that they've shown, not only against Miami, but against Milwaukee as well. They've had as difficult of a path as you could ask to get here. I understand why Golden State's favored, but man, it would not surprise me whatsoever if Boston's able to hang around, steal one of these first two games, and we get a long 6 or 7 game series.
Yeah, Chinmay, the Celtics have not had to defend an offense that is both this talented and cohesive at any point in the playoffs.
Yeah, this is definitely the biggest test for the Boston Celtics and probably the biggest test for the Golden State Warriors as well. And I agree with Nick. I think it's going to be a close series, and I think it's going to be a lengthy series. I think we can easily see 6 or 7 games here because the Warriors have not lost at home this postseason, and the Celtics have not lost back-to-back games this postseason. So within the first 2 games of the series, we're already going to see some sort of trend being broken here, whether the Warriors give up a home game or whether the Celtics lose back-to-back contests. So I think this is going to be a close series. I understand why Golden State's favored. They're the more proven team. They've been the more consistent team in this postseason, and they have home court advantage. But that's it. There's no real talent difference. If you go sort of 1 through 10 in the rotation, you can make the case for Boston being the superior talented team. You can make the case for Golden State being the more talented team. So I think they're about even on paper, but these minor things would give Golden State the edge. So I would take the Warriors in the series overall, but I do think it's going to go 6 or 7. I don't think we see a quick series here.
Okay, so which one then would you rather bet, Chinmay? Because you got 7 games plus 180, 6 games goes plus 200. You're brave enough to plus 650, sprinkle a little bit of that in there for 4 games, a little sweep?
I think if both teams are healthy, then I don't think we're seeing 4 or 5 games. So I would go with either 6 or 7. And I think if I'm picking the Warriors, I like them to close it out on their home floor in a Game 7. It brings back some bad memories for the Warriors in terms of finals historically, but I think they do get the job done in a Game 7 at home this time around. And for the first time this postseason, Boston will lose a Game 7. So I'll take 7 games in this one. I think unless there's a material change like injuries, I don't think we're seeing 4 or 5 games in this series.
Yeah, Nick, an early series lead, too, for the Warriors will ultimately be, or could be, too much to overcome for the Celtics. So maybe like 6 games here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think 6 games probably makes the most sense. You know, that's plus 200 at the DK Sportsbook. Like you said, 7 games plus 180. You know, it's like Chinmay said, too, it's hard to mount an argument for why this would be a 4 or 5 game series. It would almost have to be injury related. However, you know, if Golden State comes out, you know, they'll be well rested. They look great in Game 1. Let's say they win that in a romp, and all of a sudden they go up 2-0 at home in the series. Like, that's when maybe you could see this spiraling a little bit, just because Boston doesn't necessarily have that same level of experience. You know, the Golden State's core has been making these runs since 2015. And Boston's been to the Eastern Conference Finals a few times. It's not like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Al Horford and Marcus Smart have never accomplished anything, but, you know, they haven't done it on this level quite yet. So it would be really interesting, I think, if Golden State specifically would be able to go up 2-0 at home. How does Boston respond? Do they still have that same resilience that they showed against Miami and Milwaukee? Because as formidable as those opponents are, I think Chinmay is right that Golden State is for sure going to be the toughest test that Boston faces, especially I think on the defensive end. The amount of weapons that Golden State has relative to a Miami team that was banged up, a Milwaukee team that was out without Chris Middleton, and even a Brooklyn Nets team in round one that was clearly a lot more out of sorts, I think, than we expected it to be. But overall, barring an injury, I think we see this being another back and forth series. I think I would bet 6 games. Would not be surprised at all if we get a Game 7 at the Chase Center.
All right, Whalen, who do you feel most comfortable betting here to lead in points in this series here? So not a shocker that we have the MVPs from both conference finals at the top here. So Tatum minus 125. You can get plus money here on Curry at 155.
Yeah, I mean, at those odds, I don't mind betting Steph Curry. It kind of feels like he has maybe finally snapped out of that 60-game slump that he was in after that fantastic start to the season. Really from January through the end of the regular season, he just didn't quite look like himself. But he's at 2015, 2016 Warriors. So getting Curry at plus money, I think, makes sense. I mean, there's a reason, of course, that Jason Tatum is favored. Boston, I think, needs him to be that guy a lot more than Golden State does with Curry. Curry can have games where he goes 7 of 19 from the field for 21 points and they win by 15. If Jason Tatum's doing that in this series, Boston's probably not winning that game. Golden State just has other weapons, whereas Tatum, it's not always going to be efficient, but they need him to take 20, 25, maybe even close to 30 shots in some of these games to hang with Golden State.
All right, Chinmay, what do you think here?
Curry is definitely intriguing at plus money, and you can't go wrong with a guy who's proven to be one of the best shooters, maybe the best shooter in NBA history, and one of the top scorers when it comes to postseason basketball. But I think I have to go Jason Tatum here, even at minus money as the clear-cut favorite. I just think that the Celtics will do enough to get the ball out of Curry's hands, and the Warriors move the ball well, and they always find sort of the open guy, whether it's Klay Thompson or Andrew Wiggins or even Draymond Green to a certain extent. They'll always find the open guy, and they don't really care who shoots the basketball at the end of this possession. So I'm going to go with Tatum here. I think he's going to be more aggressive in terms of scoring the ball than Curry, who will happily give it up in Golden State's offense. And I think the Celtics will make sure that he gives it up more often than not in this series. So give me Tatum in this one.
All right, Chinmay, let's just go ahead and focus here on Thursday night, Game 1. So the Warriors here favored by 3.5 at home on the DK Sportsbook. What's your early lean here? Again, Warriors have yet to lose at home this season, in this postseason.
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong with Golden State in Game 1. They're back in the finals for the first time after a 2-year hiatus from postseason basketball entirely. And you can see sort of the energy that they have with their team. You can see, Steph doing crazy things on the sidelines. You can see Klay Thompson pumping up the crowd. Draymond Green is fired up every time that he makes a big play. This feels like that Warriors team that made those 5 finals runs. And I think Game 1, they come out hard and set the tone for this series. So give me the Warriors against the number in Game 1.
Okay, Whalen, what do you want here?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think this number is right where it should be, although I would still be pretty comfortable if it was a point or two higher. Honestly, I think Golden State, it always seems like they come out in these Game 1s and try to set the tone in the series. I mean, you look back, 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018 NBA Finals, they won all of those Game 1s, all of which came at home. And, they've been fantastic at home, like you said, in these playoffs. They always seem to be the team that's holding the advantage in these series. It's hard to even come up with a time when you felt like Golden State was playing a game it had to win. They're always the team that has that cushion. And it starts by winning a Game 1 and kind of giving yourself that edge to begin the series. So, like Chinmay said, it does kind of feel like they've developed that, that classic Golden State, we've got this demeanor that really wasn't there earlier in the season. But the confidence level, after dropping Game 4 to Dallas, you could just tell by some of the comments post-game that they knew they were going to win Game 5 back at home. But they're just a fantastic team. Klay's starting to look like Klay. They're getting big performances from guys like Andrew Wiggins, Kevon Looney. Jordan Poole hasn't even played that well since round 1, and it just hasn't mattered. I think Golden State takes Game 1 and sets the tone early in the series.
Hey, before you guys take off, let's go ahead and look at this series, though, through our DFS goggles. So plenty of stars, but can you give us an underrated guy here? So obviously not Tatum or Curry. Those two dudes are going to cost you more than $15,000 in the captain spot. But give me an underrated guy who could make a big impact here, Nick, and become a great DFS value in this series?
Yeah, well, there's a few on the Golden State side, honestly. You got Kevon Looney at 7,400 if you're putting him in the non-captain spot for game one. Andrew Wiggins actually now cheaper than Kevon Looney, which says a lot about how well Kevon Looney played in that Dallas series. Looney had 40, 26, 41, 32, and 40 DK fantasy points in 5 of his last 6 games. That includes the final game against Memphis. Wiggins was fantastic against Dallas as well. He had at least 34 DraftKings points in 4 of the 5 games. So those are the two guys who are very affordable and have shown, I think, a lot more upside, especially Looney, than we expected coming into the postseason. I also think we get a Poole resurgence at some point. He's going to have some moments in these finals. He's a big game player. Like I said, it just feels like they haven't really needed him these last 2 rounds, but he had some huge performances early in the playoffs. He's a guy who's capable of going for 30 on any given night. So certainly someone that I'm looking to plug and play in these DFS contests and just hope he hits for one of those big nights.
Chinmay, go off the beaten path for me here.
Well, I think Nick hit all the Warriors players perfectly. I think Looney, Wiggins, and Poole are all going to have some big moments in this series, and they won't cost you the type of money that Curry is going to. As far as the Celtics go, I do think that both Grant Williams and Derek White hold some value in terms of DFS lineups, and I think both are going to get significant run. Grant Williams, especially for his defensive ability, and he has the three-point shot, which gives him some upside that some of the other players don't have. And I think Derek White, the Celtics have run all 3 point guards with Smart, White, and Pritchard, but I don't think they're going to be able to play Pritchard that much in this series. So I think Derek White gets a lot of run. We've seen some 2-guard lineups with him and Smart, especially in the conference finals. And White has had some decent performances. If you're going to look for 50 or 60 points out of Derek White, it's not going to happen. But if you want that 15 to 20 point performance with potential for maybe 25 or 30 at a low cost, I think Derek White is the guy to look for in this series, especially with some of the minutes that I think he's going to get.